Let's put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Loving Father, we trust you this day here. We trust our Icma training. We trust the speakers to you and especially help us to better understand our service as welfare service providers. This we ask through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
To present our PTC history and the programs we have for our seafarers, we have Captain Paul Habo.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Captain Paul Habo. I'm the head of the education and training for the PTC shipping, as well as the head of Philcamsat, which is our training from. So I'll be providing you the introduction about our company. I would like also to present to you the non-shipping side business activity of the PTC, as well as the shipping side, then into the training programs that we provide to our seafarers as a support to them to ensure that they are always relevant to the needs of our principals. The principals, which are the ship managers, crew managers, as well as the ship owners. So, PTC Group, the PTC Group, so we have a vision of moving the world in more ways than one. It's not because of the cargo that we move, but actually the way we move the lives of our customers, our seafarers, our colleagues, our employees, and even our friends especially that you are here now. We hope to move your world by providing you an insight and understanding the Philippine maritime industry, especially the seafarers. So we just had our 44th year anniversary last February 19, so this month. So from the single company of Manning, now we are 25 different business units out of 6 different industries. Again, the focus of the company is that while we expand to other businesses, but we always ensure that we provide that social infrastructure platform, meaning, for example, in the Philippines, we don't have a lot of manufacturing companies or industries, but we do have a lot of human capital. And every year, the population growth is, before it's about 2%, but now it's about 1.5. So every year, millions of people are born, but we need to provide employment to them. So by having the right employment, that's the time that we'll be able to have that decent way to live their life. So that's part of our advocacy as well as our social responsibility to ensure that we help our Filipino people, the community, as well as all the stakeholders that we work with. So as we move forward with our business activities, we ensure that we comply to the UN SDG. Actually, we just released our sustainability report. Its maiden report is actually in 2021. We have a second report for 2022. This is to ensure that while we promote the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we ensure that in each of the activities or business units, these are properly followed. So actually in our quarterly business review, we are always required to show our accomplishment as far as compliance to the UN SDG. The next slide, I'll show you the video of the PTC Group.
At PTC, we invest in setting potential in motion and believe this can be done in more ways than one, beginning and ending with our people. People who are driven to build on our legacy, to move minds, to move compassion, to move assets, to move ideas, to move power, and to move experiences. Whose efforts look beyond ship, sky, and shore. With our values at the very core, we seek to empower people to create a future that is greener, cleaner, safer, prouder, higher. Because it is through our people that we tell our story, who we are, and what we stand for. With a mission to serve a passion to move the world in more ways than one. We are the BTC.
We had this video produced during our 40th anniversary in 2019. But the business activity is still the same. So when we turn 45, we'll have another video. But as mentioned, the business activities are always the same. So this is our business structure. So the legacy business activities in shipping. We already have investment in PTC Red, which is real estate division, aviation, PT Capital, healthcare and environment, energy, environment, and infrastructure. I'll go through one by one as I go through the next few slides. So for the real estate development, we have activities in the construction, travel management is part of the PTC Red, property management, housing and community, as well as hotel management. So if you look at the housing community, we have already built 30,500 houses in Batangas, Cavite, and Iloilo out of 31 communities. This is also an effort to help our seafarers to ensure that they have decent homes and affordable decent homes while they are working on board. So this is a way of helping the seafarers invest in the right investment. Travel management, we provide 280,000 transactions annually. And with the property management, we manage about 8 buildings and we have the parking spaces, wherein we have almost 64,000 parking spaces out of 100 parking spaces, mostly in the Metro Manila. And daily transaction is about 150 daily vehicles. And as we are participating in the real estate activity, we need to ensure that we have the capability to construct. So at any given time, we are building about 600 houses. So by the end of the year, we will be about 14,000 houses in total. And as a real estate development player, you always have to have your land bank. So that's why we have 250 hectares up for development, and we would like to develop later on an ecotourism park. And the majority of the land is actually near Tagaytay, which is very good for ecotourism investment. So for the energy, environment, and infrastructure, we have activities for the fuel distribution as well as renewable energy. For the fuel distribution, we have 74 gasoline stations, and we have a transaction of 264 million liters. So this is, Caltex is the local brand of Chevron. And actually, 20 of these gasoline stations are already with the Shell. So it's a collaboration between the Caltex and Shell. Again, to help try to align everything that we do as we move the world of our community. So fuel and fuel logistics, we're transporting about 180 million liters. So if you are providing if you're managing gasoline station, you have to have your lorry trucks to move. So that's what we have, and we are into fuel storage facilities management. So we have now about 85 million liters and growing. We recently signed an agreement with Shell to provide fuel storage in northern Mindanao. And this is in partnership with the DMCI, which is also a real estate development player in the Philippines. So for the renewable energy, this all started way back maybe 10 or 15 years ago when we were trying to think of how can the company offset the carbon footprint of the business activities that we are doing. So because we deploy a lot of seafarers, so how can we help the environment by offsetting the carbon footprint? One of the things that we have studied is the planting trees. So, but to plant trees, it takes about 15 to 20 years before you'll be able to offset carbon footprint of about 1 ton. You need 5 trees. Since we're deploying a lot of people, it might not be that sustainable because we are also being I would say, visited by typhoon 26 times a year. So it has a difficulty to grow the trees. But we still do the tree planting. What we did is that as further studies, so renewable energy is one way to offset the carbon footprint. So we were awarded with rivers in the northern Luzon, but it takes time to get the permits of the LGU. So I think the solar farm that we are in discussion will go ahead before the renewable energy. Again, this is to show that while we do business activities, we ensure that we comply to the UN SDG deliverables. And as part of the food sustainability of the Philippines, as you know that the food security in the Philippines is quite low. Maybe few months ago you heard about us having the shortage with onions. So, the price of the onions skyrocketed. So it's the same with the rice. We are one of the #1 importers of rice actually, wherein we used to be one of the leaders in producing rice. So now we are helping farmers out of these 158 hectares to provide the pre-planting, the growth side, and the post-production. We would like to help the farmers become sustainable. Because if you go to, for example, Japan, if you go to Europe, the farmers are very rich people. In the Philippines, they are not. Because the ones that are getting most of the profit are the middlemen. So we would like to help the farmers, together with us, to be able to supply their produce directly to the market. So meaning, we need to train them on how to put up the storage and how to put up the timing in the planting season, so that they will be able to produce and harvest at the time where that particular crop is actually needed, for example, rice. So this way, the farmers become sustainable. So we will not anymore probably hear the families of the farmers that, oh, I would like to go into another profession because farming is not sustainable for us, at least financially. So that's our energy, environment, and infrastructure. So for the healthcare, we do have our own, started with our own PEMI clinic to support the deployment of the safe air. So now, aside from the normal PEMI clinic activity, we now have COVID testing, vaccination brought about by the pandemic. We do have medical teleconsult, and we have also invested in the pharmacy services. So for the diagnostic and medical care, we're processing about, in 2021, we're about 93, but now we're about 70 to 80,000 at the end of the year, because this figure is in November. And COVID testing, we're one of the very first who supported the seafarers that were arriving in Manila. So we're one of the clinics who have the capability to do the COVID testing, as well as providing the vaccination. So we were one of the first 25 companies in the Philippines that were able to import vaccines, so that we'll be able to give this to our community. And also pharmacy. In the Philippines, there are still a lot of communities that don't have an access to cheap medicine. So this type of pharmacy, these are not the pharmacy that our seafarers normally go to, because they normally go to a branded drugstores or pharmacy like the Mercury or the Watsons. But this is a community that goes into the different, I would say, not inside the malls, but in the community of our different barangays or the local government units. So this way we can extend the reach of these humble people coming from the for those needing additional help in terms of access for medicine. Teleconsult, this is a normal activity that we do as a support to our stakeholders. And aviation, we recently invested in aviation out of the success from the maritime training activities. So now we have cabin crew training as well as the pilot training. So for the cabin crew training, we have invested in a airplane cabin fuselage. This is a simulator actually. It's not an actual airplane. So we're not even the Cebu Pacific, not even the Philippine Airlines have that simulator. So we invested in that because we know there are a need for cabin attendants, as well as together with the owners of the Philippine Airlines, Macro Asia, we had a joint venture with them and put out a pilot school, because pre-COVID, the need for the additional pilots, especially in the East Asia, will rise up to about 780,000. There was a stopgap in terms of need because of the COVID, but now you see that the aviation activities is continuously picking up. So in the next 5 years, the need for the aviation will be there. So for us, as mentioned, as a responsible company providing employment opportunities for Filipinos, we would like to position in the aviation as well. So we have also, these are the number of airplanes. Some of the airplanes there are the acquisition from the PAL Flying School. So the Philippine Airlines Flying School closed their flying school, and we are now doing this pilot training together with them. So also in the PT Capital, so we have the international placement. This is for the land-based work talents, as well as we do have our own insurance capability and microfinance as support to the seafarers and other employees that we do have. And in the Philippines, if you have a license for the sea base, you cannot deploy nurses or you cannot deploy other engineers on the land-based work. So we have our own positioning for the land-based. So we deploy already 2,700 professionals, and one of the I would say one of the busiest activity now is sending nurses to Germany. So it's very difficult to send nurses to Germany because of the language. So our nurses, they undergo 8 months training. The 8 months training for the language, and we support them with their needs. And after 8 months, they can go to Germany. After a year or two, they can bring their families there. And for the microfinance, this is our help. If you go probably to some areas where the seafarers normally group together, even outside of this building, you'll see a lot of people giving flyers to them. It's actually seafarers loan. And some of them, sorry for the word, some of them, as we call it, loan sharks. So what happens is, the seafarers, even before they go on board, their ATMs are with them. Because the loan sharks needs to get the money before the money will be given to the seafarers. So for us, we see that it's one of the challenges with the seafarers. We put up this microfinance to help them bridge the gap in terms of needed money for the tuition fee for the small business, or money to be left to their family before they go on board. And what we do here is that we provide financial literacy training or briefing before they actually get the loan. And the interest rate is very low because we don't want them to go out and be victimized by those some of the loan sharks. Because insurance is an activity to provide insurance, because we do have several assets to manage and several business activities that we manage, so we have our own PTC insurance company. So, going to the shipping, so this is our legacy business. So shipping comprises of the crew management, logistics, outsourcing solutions, ship management, and education and training. So, for the crew management activity, we are, at any given time, we have 36,000 seafarers on board, and we deploy about 72,000. Pre-COVID, we're about 83,000. So we're almost 90% to the pre-COVID situation. So it's good because that means we provide more employment opportunities to our Filipino people. And we manage about almost 1,500 vessels. And for the ship management, we have 25 vessels now, and it's continuously growing because it's part of the need of the industry. And for the logistics, we have a logistic company which is mostly doing the activity within the Philippines and helping with the crew change or even the movement of cargo within the Philippines as well as in the region. And outsourcing, this is a support of to our principals. For example, they need the back office support like encoding the plant maintenance data or anything that they need purchasing, or even the global sourcing. We manage the global sourcing for World Korea, for example. And education training, which is a part of my responsibility. So we have our own school. And we have 600 plus graduates and 350 cadets. And at any given time in our training facility, we are training about 22,000 annually. So I'll go into the training side of the activities. Later on, if you have questions with regards to the crew management and ship management, Captain Enrida and myself will be able to provide you those answers and insights about these activities. So for the education and training, education and training is very important to the company because this is part of our sustainability. This is part of the PTC sustainability framework in compliance also to the UN SDG. Because one of the two major SDGs that we comply is the number 4, which is quality education, and the number 8, which is a decent work. So this is a program which we can ensure that our seafarers will become relevant to the need of our principals. So we have our own school. This is a joint venture with Mapua Institute of Technology, which is 100 plus educational institution in the Philippines. They're the best engineering school in the country. So when we have this discussion with them prior to 2008, there we saw a gap in terms of the quality of the officers. So we saw that there are weaknesses in mathematics, science, and physics, for example, and the best educator that we can partner are the best engineering school. That's why we put up the Mapua PTC College of Maritime Education and Training. It's a 45 minutes drive to from here to south of Manila in near the SLEX, Southern Luzon Expressway in Camillo. Okay. And PhilCamSat is the brand of our training. PhilCamSat stands for Philippine Center for Advanced Maritime Simulation and Training. So it's quite long, so it's just a PhilCamSat for short. And the mask is the brand that we provide. The mask is under the PhilCamSat, but this is the brand that we provide to the practical side. So the mask is Maritime Skills Training. That's why it's mask. As we go through with the activities with aviation, later on it will become Maritime and Aviation Skills Training. Actually, we train pilots and cabin attendants there for their, they call it wet drill. So we provide training and we use the same extinguishers, the same life jacket that they use for aviation. Air Asia is our client for the aviation training at the mast. So we train the pilots and cabin attendants for the wet drill, or we call it fire drill. So this is our founder, Ambassador Salinas. He founded the training center, or the training front of the company, because there is a growing demand for officers. There is a growing demand for Filipinos that will take full crew management of the vessels. During the early 80s, PTC is the first Filipino to deploy full Filipino crew on board Norwegian vessels. So there was a lot of, I would say, doubts, hesitations, because we can understand them because there's no proper training in terms of development of officers. We do have an education, basic education, but after that, there are no a lot of follow-through training. That's why most of our seafarers we send to Europe, because that's where the modern and world-class training is actually located. But when we invest in PhilCamSat, we make it more sustainable for us, because we can train more Filipinos as we go through. So yeah, 30 years ago, almost 31 years ago, Ambassador Salinas founded PhilCamSat with a vision of transforming seafarers into global maritime professionals. So in the next video, we will show you the video about our training site here in Makati, as well as in our training site in Cavite.
PhilCamSat is a platform where we can bring out the best in a Filipino seafarer, or for that matter, for any global maritime profession. And the reason it exists is because there's a constant need to ensure that our seafarers, any seafarer, is always up to their stuff in the ability to deliver the services on board the ship.
PhilCamSat is the only training provider in the Philippines or in the Asian region that is certified by the Belgian Maritime Inspectorate, as well as the only training facility in Asia that has the UK Merchant Marine Training Board approval, which really sets the standard for us because of the international standards that we are applying in the trainings.
differentiation lies in our exposure to the 100 plus shipping companies that PhilCamSat has the privilege of presently working with. Our development and continuous improvement of these courses comes from the feedback and training needs analysis output of these shipping companies. In addition to the state-of-the-art facility, PhilCamSat was able to develop the human element of leadership and management. It paved the way for the adoption of the International Maritime Organization to make this as a model course in the use of leadership and management.
PhilCamSat engages with students in primary, senior high school, colleges, and universities. The global maritime professionals of the future needs the following areas of competence in math, science, technology, engineering, and arts. These are what we call transversal competence or long life learning.
What makes PhilCamSat, I believe, different from just any other training center is that it is part of the PTC group. And what PTC has evolved over the years is the ability to create a ship management platform and a crew management platform. And understanding the nuances of operating a ship and crewing a ship have transformed into the way we train and how we train.
We aim to produce someone who understands all the facets of his actions, somebody who understands the effects of what he does. The mark of being a very capable Filipino global maritime professional. PhilCamSat is here to ensure that the global maritime professionals does not only keep up with the changing industry, but stays ahead of it.
I always sit down and start my presentation because
It's quite awkward to see another version of you talking on TV, right? And to at least give you more time to move away from that awkwardness, I would like to call our CEO, Mr. Geraldo Borromeo, to provide us the message.
Thank you, Paul. Actually, he just wants to sit down for a while because he's always talking. Jason, good morning. Father, good morning. Well, first of all, on behalf of my colleagues here at PTC, I'd like to welcome all of you to our office and also to Manila. For some of you, it might be the first time visiting, so I hope that during your conference, you'll not only have a chance to talk about business or the business of caring for seafarers, but you also have a chance to learn more about our country and what makes us who we are, and through food, music, culture. And at the end of the day, all of that can be processed into the work that you do, the good work that you do. So welcome to PTC. When Jason and I met, I think it was in October of last year, we met at the Global Maritime Forum, and he told me about what his plans were. I immediately said, well, how can we help? And you mentioned that you needed a place where you could bring everybody together and learn a little bit about what happens in the back of the room, as you begin to process people to work in this very, very interesting industry. So I said, well, if we can be of help, we'd like to. And I thought another opportunity would be to be able to talk to some of my colleagues, to be able to see what makes a Filipino want to go to sea. What is that emotional element that makes them go out and work in an industry where you're away from home and maybe not necessarily in contact day to day like how we can be otherwise on that. So I said, if that's an opportunity, great, and we continue to exchange notes, and here you are. So again, welcome. The work that you do in being able to provide an ear, to provide just a person to talk to, I think is very underrated in many respects. And not just for people who work at sea. All of us, you included, go through daily challenges, daily rigors. And we probably don't realize what it does to us as an individual. And oftentimes, it can lead to unintended consequences. And we read about that every day in the newspaper, with many, many crazy things going on. And I wonder sometimes if what drives that is the advent of social media and the fact that we can multiply that message many times over, almost as it's happening in real time. So whenever there's an opportunity to, as Paul just described now, to take time out, to take a step back, I think that's something that is very, very worthwhile to do. I think at the same time, there's not enough of it that is going around. And how much more can we help? And understanding the nuances of this industry and the challenges that this industry has as it moves people around, or as you see these boats or vessels move from port to port, and the challenges that you face. I think understanding that allows us to try to craft the kind of solutions that help us get around these challenges. Many of these challenges we are not able to control. Many of these challenges we won't be able to actually do anything about. But if there are ways that we can cut through the maze, that's very, very beneficial. I think at some point in Paul's presentation, he'll talk to you about a program, a wellness at sea program called We Team. And that whole idea was, between ourselves and the Synergy Group, was to try to provide a mechanism where anyone who felt a little bit of stress or distress could actually pick up the phone and then just call out, reach out, talk to someone. If nothing else, that would be hopefully one effort of help. But from Paul's perspective, We Team was just part of something broader, which is called Bridge. And the whole idea was, how do you help somebody prepare for the rigors of working away for a long time? So if we could do that as part of the pre-departure ability, if you can then provide somebody with a helpline while they're away, and then depending on the situation, intervene at an appropriate level, and then when they come back, give them the opportunity to then come full circle. Well, that's one part of I think, the kind of assistance that will hopefully continue to encourage people to be part of this work. The last 3 years have been very, very difficult and challenging, and COVID, I think, highlighted the importance of the shipping industry. But even as it highlighted the importance of the shipping industry for some people, the majority of people around the world still don't realize what the shipping industry does. And I think, I don't know if in your opening slide we talked about the fact that this industry moves the world in more ways than one. And it's the people, and people like people from the Philippines, who are what we call the tonnage enablers. We're not the tonnage providers, but you can spend all the billions of dollars you want. But if you don't have the heart and soul of a ship to be able to move that ship safely, economically, and efficiently from port to port, then we aren't able to get the work done. And it takes the human side of things, the human element, as they call it, to make sure that they are able to continue to operate. And it strikes me that as we think of the future, and it's very, very important that we think about the future, and we look at the future on board the ships, what kind of an individual are we going to need? And if you look at this industry, it's a very, very traditional industry. So we still have, for example, a position called an able-bodied seaman, or an ordinary seaman. In today's day and age, let's assume that we're in a job fair. We're sitting down, and we're in the industry. We say, we're looking for able-bodied seamen, or ordinary seamen. And to our left is Google, and to our right is Microsoft, looking for fancy, exciting opportunities. How would we then attract the best and brightest to get onto a ship? Particularly a ship that will continue to probably become more sophisticated in terms of their systems, to become more sophisticated in terms of automation. How do we attract that next generation of individuals? And how do we make sure that that next generation of individuals will still be fit for purpose in an ever-changing world where, because of geopolitics, their ability to see the world, which was the exciting part of going to sea before, is probably no longer the case. And when I get to port, I'm restricted. I really can't get off my ship depending on what country I'm in. How do they continue to enjoy the kind of life that we all are able to enjoy in one form or another? So it strikes us, for us as a company, that part of our work is not just to look at this as a transaction, but to look at this as a career building opportunity. It's not for everyone, but for the few that are selected, the kind of responsibility that they have to make sure that the ship gets from point A to point B on time. I believe we still provide crew to orange juice carriers that go from Brazil to Florida to New Jersey to the Netherlands to Rotterdam. And what I've suggested that the storyline should be that you're not just working on a ship, but if you don't do your job, we're compromising orange juice on the breakfast table. And I think that if we begin to look at the work in that perspective, maybe we bring a different type of approach so that people realize that they do have value, that they're not just another person on board, they're not just an ordinary sailor. And it's very important, I think, that when we look at ourselves and figure what kind of value do we bring to life, and what kind of value do we bring to the world. Oftentimes, perhaps that's where the problem starts, where you get lost. And so an opportunity to exchange views with you, for you to talk to my colleagues and find out what is it that makes you tick? Why do you go to sea? And why will other generations of Filipinos still want to go to sea? And what can we do to make that work easier? And we ourselves don't have all of the answers, but having the opportunity to meet with people like yourselves and then maybe also listening to the challenges you have will help us formulate what I call these pipelines. We have to think about 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And why do I say that? We can build a ship in less than 3 years, from design to launch. But the way we are structured, it still takes you almost 10 years, maybe 7 years, to go from being an entry-level officer to being the master or chief engineer. So that alone tells you that it takes longer to build the professional than it does take to build a ship. So if a person is born today and they have to go through the Philippine system, they'll go through a K-12 school. So that's 12 years of school. They go through 4 more years of college, so that's 16 years of their lives. And then they have to go through another 10 years before they perhaps become a master. So that's a total of 26 years. The year is 2023, so if we add 16 years to this, we're going to be, 2038? Am I right? 2039. What will the technology on the ship be in 2039? And will the traditional ships still be around at that time, or will they be retrofitted? And even if those ships are partly retrofitted, they're going to be retrofitted and will start to perhaps look at different types of fuel types. And if we look at where most of the people, particularly from the Philippines, come from, who've gone into this industry, they come from very humble backgrounds. So we wonder what kind of educational system is going to be needed in order to make sure that we can attract the best and brightest who can work with the types of technologies that are evolving. So more pressure, more pressure, more pressure. And for those that have been involved in the industry, there is a responsibility to upskill and reskill them so that they're not going to get left out, that they will still have an opportunity. Because when we ask ourselves, why do Filipinos go to sea? It's not because we're a maritime nation per se, it's not because we're an archipelagic country per se, but the financial rewards are very good. And it's as an industry where, because if you go to the university, you have 3 years of academics and 1 year at sea. If you are successful to get that 1 year at sea on an international ocean-going vessel, you could earn as a cadet anywhere from $400 to $500 per month, which is tax-free. An equivalent job here in the Philippines, which has been very attractive to many, is working in the BPO industry, the business process outsourcing. You'll get maybe $400 or $500, but you will pay taxes on that. You will pay for your own food, your own transportation, and your own housing. So you can see the difference. The other person hasn't graduated yet, they're earning this kind of money, and they're putting all of that money in their back pocket. So the resiliency factor of Filipinos wanting to go abroad because they can earn well, they can help their families, and they can keep this whole thing going, is probably what drives most of the people. But there are sacrifices. And in fact, once that whole situation changes, and you notice if you talk to families that when the husband or the wife comes home, that they've been gone for quite a long time, after a while, the dynamics become a little different, and they're used to the fact that they're not always at home. So some sociologists have said, well, aren't we wrecking the family unit? And I say, well, there is that point as well. But on the other hand, if this individual couldn't get the good job to help their family move forward, what kind of a family life would they then have? So yes, there are pros and cons, and you are called upon to help people maybe process and understand and realize the importance of what they do. But as an industry, I think what we have not been able to do well enough is sell the image of a global maritime professional. And that's the term that we're trying to use, not just a seafarer. And I'm suggesting that we shouldn't call them able-bodied seamen anymore, or use the AB position as the benchmark. Going forward, I think we need to have able-skilled individuals, because they have to be skilled in multiple things, whether it's in languages, in culture, in technology. It's all about people. It's a business about people. It's a business about understanding new processes. It's a business about understanding technologies as well. And that whole combination is what will drive value for the individual. But I also believe that we have to find a way, working with groups like yourself and others, find a way to try to help that individual see value for themselves where they exist within their communities. And I don't know if you've gotten to it yet, Project Rise, or are you going to come to that? Okay, so Paul's going to come back and talk about Project Rise. Our country is one of the countries that has been and will continue to be affected by climate change. We have very many communities that are going to be vulnerable to sea level rise, typhoons, the effect of typhoons, earthquakes, and that sort of thing. Our biggest challenge is having qualified first responders on the ground in some of these areas, because that's where everything fails. We can have all of the relief goods and emergency capability, but if we can't get to the last mile, and if we can't get it there at the right time, or even organize ourselves to try to avoid being in the path of an intended event, that's where things become a problem. But it strikes us that global maritime professionals, GMPs, are actually trained in emergency response. They're trained to be firefighters, they're trained to do first aid, they're trained to do many of the things which a traditional or typical individual isn't. But they're not organized in their communities to provide the adequate first response. So our thought was that if we can help create them to be first responders who can be seen as heroes within their community, not only do they bring something back to their community, but they can also be a symbol of where they can go in the future. And our thought was that perhaps that's another way to symbolize the value of this industry, to realize that I can be that hero or local hero. And maybe others will then say, well, I'd like to be like this person. And then we can go on. But that's not enough to have that image. We also have to work with government to provide the kind of STEM-based education that will help Filipinos and other nationalities for that matter cope with where the future will be. And it's not just for the maritime. And actually, if you think about any kind of career, a STEM-based education will help us appreciate and understand how technology is going to evolve. I don't think we can look away from technology. I'm sure all of you, or most of you have heard of this new AI tool called ChatGPT, and how it took the test for a bar exam somewhere in the US and passed it. And that if you wanted to write a resume or wanted to write a report, you just enter certain parameters and it would go out and do that for you. Well, where is the limit of all of that? And as that takes shape, there are ethical issues, there are moral issues, and are we as individuals ready to cope with that? And it has to start with the general public. So looking at what we have done over our 44 years, we just celebrated our 44th anniversary last Sunday. There is so much that we recognize that our business has evolved with a national and social dimension. So when Jason talked to me about the fact that could we come together, I thought, well, yeah, that's a great time out, because we need to hear from you what you see from your perspective as what I would call the balancing act, to help try to provide perspective, to try to provide care, to try to provide a friendly ear. At the same time, I think it will be helpful for you to listen to what motivates Filipinos to go to sea. Otherwise, if we don't have any Filipinos who want to go to sea in the future, then we won't have this business. That's the end of this particular business model. And I don't look at it as a transaction. I really look at this as a career opportunity. Just because We are a country that is growing at 1.6 million people every year. Just imagine. And every year, close to 1 million people are coming into the workforce. Today, depending on the statistics, we're about 110, 112 million people. By the year 2050, we're going to be 150 million people. How do we take care of the next 38 million people? What kind of jobs are they going to get? How are they going to be educated? What will life be like in the year 2050? What is the future of work? What is the future of the shipping industry? What is the future of a seafarer or GMP? How do we prepare for those? And if we are not going to think about the future, we're just going to pick up the pieces. So this whole group is not about picking up the pieces alone. And you do a good job about that. In some cases, you're able to do a better job. In other cases, it might be a little too late. But I don't want to be relegated to being the firefighter. If we can try to get ahead, working together to identify how do we make sure that global maritime professionals or global aviation professionals or global professionals for that matter, how can they cope with the challenges of geopolitics, of social inequities, of all of the things that make life both interesting and challenging. And if that's something that we can work on together, if that is something that we can work to try to get ahead, so that learning from this, we can put it back into our whole pipeline, then we will probably be able to help more people in ways that we haven't begun to imagine. So rather than just be reactive, how can we be proactive from the exchange of ideas and thoughts that we are able to bring together? Because at the end of the day, and as you know, airplanes today can fly without a pilot and a co-pilot. I mean, we just don't do that because nobody would probably be very uncomfortable sitting in the plane and say, "Good morning, this is your captain speaking. I'm calling you from work from home. I'm working from home. And you're going to be going from wherever it is to wherever it is and enjoy the flight, sit back and relax," right? So in the same way that the ship won't be able to do that, there are just too many legal issues, liability issues, and insurance issues. So responsibility still has to be placed on the individual. And I think because of responsibility having to be put on certain individuals, that is where a lot of the challenges begin. So if we can begin to understand that and appreciate that and prepare the journey, I think a lot of this is to prepare the journey. Maybe that proactivity will help in being able to minimize the challenges that we face. So let me end with that. It is a continuing effort, it's a continuing journey. We don't have all the answers, but we appreciate the opportunity to exchange notes. And so I hope that as a result of your visit, you see a little bit more about our country and about our people. Ask all the questions you want, and in the same way that we hope that we can learn from you the challenges which we can take back to our own system and figure out how we improve ourselves in the service of others and in the service of the world, because at the end of the day, the shipping industry moves the world. And we're happy and proud to be part of that effort. So welcome again, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful message.
While listening to Mr. Borromeo, I remember one of my favorite lines in the poem, like, "What beauty lies beneath the sea, which takes a man from his family. What beauty lies amidst the foam, which lures a man away from home. The call of the sea is sweet and clear for everyone all to hear." So yeah, that's one of my favorite lines when I was still in the academy as well as still sailing. So with that, that is something that we are really, I would say, trying to understand and trying to implement, because we really want to understand what beauty lies beneath the sea in order to provide a meaningful career for our seafarers and meaningful services that we provide to our stakeholders. So going back to my presentation. So Philcom Sat is 31 years now, and as you've seen in the video, it's we have invested a lot in the training. But this investment, this becomes just an equipment. They're just crane, lifeboat, a facility, if there's no proper conduct of the training. So while we invest in the hardware, we make sure that we do have the software. We do have top accreditations, we do have accreditation to ensure that we are properly delivering the training. So, with the top accreditation, we are the only training center, training institution in the Philippines or in Asia that is accredited by Belgian Maritime Inspectorate. Both the Mapua, PTC College of Maritime Education, and Philcomsat are considered technically as Belgian school and Belgian training center. And we're the only training center outside of UK that is accredited by United Kingdom Merchant Navy Training Board. And DNB is just for the normal ISO requirements. Most of the companies, shipping companies have that. And TESDA is accreditation for the NC1 and NC3. These are the courses for messman and chief cook. Just for you to have an understanding that Marina ensures that the delivery of TCW is as per the standard, together with BMI. However, the TESDA, those two training that I mentioned, NC1 and NC3, are the only training outside of Marina. Because when we ratified the MLC 2006, the administration of that convention is the Department of Labor and Employment. So with that, their training agency is actually TESDA. So for the STCW, the administration is actually the Marina. So, and also for the energy sector, we're also certified by the OPITO, which is the Offshore Petroleum Industry Training Organization. And we also have partnerships. EcoSpray is for partnership for the scrubber. This is a way to ensure that our engineers complies to the requirement of the emission. You know, in the maritime industry, it's very strict. For example, the sulfur emission has to be 0.5 or even 0.1. So, and also, First, a great company, wherein we train our seafarers for ballast water treatment. So maybe if everyone heard about the ballast water convention, it's a way for us to ensure that when we discharge cargo in Manila and we take in ballast water, we don't bring the microorganism into the US and destroy the marine environment. So that's part of the training. And NSAT and MITAX is just an accreditation for us to be able to provide a navigational skills assessment. This is a company out of the US, which is the Maritime Institute of Technology and Gravity Studies. And the other slides, as you see there, I have a few more slides to show you, but just a quick one. This one is a HELM. It's a Human Element Leadership and Management. We conducted that training first in 2015 and 2016. And even before the standards for training was actually, I would say, put together. We got a huge, I would say, grant from IMEC, and we trained the officers for free. And Marina, because the IMO is needing a standard for the leadership and management, request for our permission if they can use our curriculum and submit it to IMO. And after a few years, in 2018, IMO released a book, or the IMO model course, Use of Leadership and Managerial Skills, which is actually the course of Philcomsat. Just want to share that this speaks a lot of the strength of our research and development. And because of that, we received several awards in London in 2019 for the best crew training program, in a Crew Connect in 2019 also, as the safety at sea, and also in Singapore, we received the award for the Asia Pacific for the Lloyd's List. And you know, Lloyd's List is different regions, Middle East, Northern America, and Europe. All the winners from those regions were vetted again. And the winner is Philcomsat for the Global Awards. Just to show that how responsible we are in ensuring that the relevant of training is what the industry needs. And just to step back on what Philcomsat can do or the PDC can do, but just to provide an insight that what is happening in the industry as far as training is concerned. Pre-COVID, most of the ship managers and ship owners, they do their training ashore. For the requirements of the TCW or any upgrades, they do the training. So they partner with training institutions like us in the Philippines or wherever is the source of their seafarers. On board training, you always do the fire drill, boat drill, and the CBT as well as the cadet book. However, during the pandemic, we accepted the online training. The online training has been there, but was not properly, I would say, accepted, because we can still do the onshore training. But the need for training is there. So this is the survey by the Maritime Training Insight Database, which is, I would say, headed by WMU, World Maritime University. Pre-COVID, COVID, the top two are the same. Reducing accidents and external regulations are continuously changing. So with that, the training has to be executed. So if, for example, in the Philippines, we had a lot of quarantine, enhanced community quarantine, meaning we cannot go out from our houses. So because of that, we accepted online training, and it becomes a norm now. So we have now blended and so on. So in addition, we do have the career development, commercial efficiency, and group competency. As there probably changes every year, but it's almost the same, I would say, importance. And number 6, we always know that technology are changing. It may be fully automated operation or partially automated, but technology is continuously changing. Just yesterday, last Monday, I talked to one of the training managers of our client in Singapore. They are requesting us to program a vessel with mechanical sail. So they have invested, and in June, they'll be releasing a vessel which has actually the mechanical sail, so that helps propel the vessel and have more speed and become more green in their operation. But no training center is actually providing that. So we have a 2 months time to actually program that and deliver by April or May. So that's how fast is the change in the technology. And also, if you know the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve theory, so I hope I'm pronouncing the Ebbinghaus because he's a German psychologist. So it's Ebbinghaus, as I read it in Filipino way. So forgetting curve theory says that if you complete the training today, meaning you have the right facilitator, equipment, and the training is also attentive, it says that the retention for today is 100%. After 1 week, you don't use that knowledge, you will lose 40%. That's why you see that very stiff drop in forgetting. If you don't use that knowledge, after 30 days, it's about 20% to almost 0. And that's the same reason why on board, the seafarers need to do the boat drill and the fire drill every 7 days, so that they will not fall trap into the human capability of the person to forget after 7 days. Because in any given emergency situation, the seafarers are required sometimes to go from their cabin to the master station at pitch black, because sometimes there's a blackout and the emergency happens at night. So they must have a muscle memory in going from that place to the master station. And that's what we are continuously promoting to our seafarers and ship managers, that they need to be serious in the training and they need to comply on the frequency of the training. So the only way to stop the forgetting curve is to do a training repetition. That's why our basketball stars, Stephen Curry, or the football star, Messi, they don't even sometimes look at the goal or the ring. They just know where they are located inside the court, and they kick the ball and it goes into the goal or it goes into the ring because of muscle memory. That's what we want to have our seafarers to have, that muscle memory, at least in the emergency situation. So this is our training, as you've seen in the video. So this is, I just want to emphasize that we have a different way of providing the training. For example, the firefighting. If you go to the other training center, when they do have the firefighting exercise, they have a half-cut drum, and they put diesel or gasoline, maybe 2 liters, then they lit it with, and it's on fire. So before the start of the exercise, if you accidentally spray in the drum, the fire is out even before you start the exercise. But with us, this has gas pipelines. So our fire simulator has gas pipelines. So the fire will not be out unless they'll show us the training outcomes and the training objective that we want to see. So it's a controlled environment as far as learning. This way, it's more expensive, of course, because we use gas, but it's safer and cleaner, especially we are beside a huge river, south of Manila. And we can do the actual launching, and we ensure that the quality of water in our swimming pool is always like that. The color has to be always like that. We have a weekly microbiological test that some of the training center are not doing. And we're also accredited by the Norwegian Maritime Authority for the issue of the IGF code is for the new fuels that we are having now, as well as the polar code for the navigation in the polar regions. And we do have a culinary facility, so I will not go just to show you that we do have training as well. And Opito, we have several courses that we deliver. I just want to emphasize this Opito related course. We normally conduct this outside of our normal working time. Our working time is 8:30 to 5:30 for the normal training. This one we conduct 3:30 to 11:30 at night. 3:30 in the afternoon to 11:30 at night, because every time we conduct this training, we have 5 nationalities in attendance: Polish, Indians, Malaysian, Filipino, and Brazilians. Just imagine the way to manage the learning. So the most difficult part of the day is after lunch, because that's the blood goes to the stomach to digest instead of processing for the learning. So, but if you have 5 nationalities, some have just actually started their day, some have just taken their lunch, and some are about to end the day. So we adjusted the way we deliver our courses. That's why we, aside from the instructor or the facilitator, we do have training administrator. These are the people that are calling the participants. Oh, switch on your camera, participate, because that's the way to involve them in the training. Because if the camera is off, you never know. Maybe the wife is the one attending the course and just clicking the keyboards. So also, as mentioned by Mr. Borromeo, we have pre-COVID. We already have this program. It's called Bridge, Building Resiliency in Diverse Global Environment. These are courses that we provide to our seafarers, which covers all the behavioral leadership and management courses. So when you go to a restaurant, especially when you're now in the Philippines, you don't know the food. When you go to a restaurant, you look for the menu and you look for the chef recommendation, right? And it's smart. For us, we also have a chef recommendation for our behavioral courses. This is the helm. The helm is actually a leadership and management for officers. This one is for the leaders, but not licensed. These are the bosses and feeders. So while the leaders are trained well as far as leadership and management, the ones that are not following, which is the ratings, has to have that kind of training as well, so that the whole crew complement will understand about the leadership and management. And we also provide some conference topics, and for example, we provide the courses, the title as more interesting. For example, the catching black swan. So they try to, oh, what is catching black swans? So, and for example, shake it. Just like shake it with actually safety, security, health, environment, and quality. So we try to make it more interesting for them. And these are the various courses that we do. Just to provide you an example, when we provide the training for the working at heights, there are a lot of seafarers that doesn't know that the helmet has expiration. If you look at the helmet, underneath this helmet, there's year of manufacturing. If it's more than 5 years, don't use the helmet because it just break off. Or if they have the harness, they have to see for the certificate of the safe working load, so that we'll be able to ensure that the quality of the harness is actually good. So, just want to show this the 2C program. This is a program of PTC. We're in 90% is subsidized by PTC. So our clients just pay 10%. So the training value, for example, is about $2,000 to $2,500, and the principal is just paying $200. So it's a way of continuity. And for the ratings, it's about 700 to 800, but at 1,400. But the ship owners is just paying $100. So again, this is a way to push our seafarers forward in terms of competence. I'll show you the how to become a seafarer. How to become a seafarer in the Philippines. If you are not an officer, it's easy. Even after you finish your high school, senior high school, you can take the basic training. Then you go to Marina. Then they'll issue you a COP. Plus, of course, you have some documentary requirements. Then you'll be issued a seafarer's record book and the ID. If you are an officer, of course, you have to finish your college degree. Then you take the exam. Then after that, you'll be issued a COP, COC as well. In addition to the seafarer's record book and the ID. When you go to the maritime crewing companies, you'll go into the screening. Most likely, if you're an officer, if you pass, you'll be deployed immediately. This one is what is happening now. There's nothing wrong with this, but this is not sustainable. So what we did with the PTC group is we developed a competence management system. This is a way actually to more of a help to the seafarers rather than the ship owners, because the seafarers, if they did not meet the requirement of the ship owners, they'll just look for another seafarer, right? But for us to be able to align the competence of the seafarers versus what is required by our ship owners, then we need to have a right program. So we have here the competence mapping. So we match as per this TCW. We continuously do the assessment programs from hiring, promotion, as well as during the times that they have, especially if they have the poor performance or poor appraisal report. Or if they are still with the same position for the next 3 to 5 years, we need to assess as well. Because if you remember the 6 items that I mentioned about training, they are continuously changing. So you also get the onboard performance, so that we know if the training that we are providing is actually what our seafarers or the global maritime professionals need. So this way, we can do what we call we're the only company who have the competence badging system. All the seafarers that goes into the assessment program are considered competent. However, as you know, competent people have different, I would say, level of competence. This is not to discriminate, but rather to help the seafarers go up into the 5-star. Normally, our 3 stars are the cadets, the beginners, or the new global maritime professionals who recently joined us. Because even if the seafarers are well experienced, when they join the principal or us, they need to adjust on the management system. They need to adjust on the trading routes. They need to adjust on the cargo that they carry. So with this, we can ensure that we have the potential seafarers go into the 5-star, which is the high-performing seafarers. Then, as we know, we also have the normal career progression. And all of the programs that we're doing is to ensure that we follow the just transition mechanism to ensure that no one is left behind. Okay, so also this is just to emphasize that the training will be, I would say, not so effective if we don't monitor them. That's why we do have the competence management system to ensure that the training that we provide are enhanced through the enhancement of the performance in work. And just to show that we have a cooperation, we're the regional partner of the World Maritime University in the Philippines and the nearby countries. We're also we recently been approved by transnational postgraduate program. So if you see, from the seafarers, we provide a program so that they can go to us and work as superintendents or crewing managers. And also, we do have a global partner. We have a partner in Netherlands, in Rotterdam. They one of the biggest simulator company, simulator training center in EU. And also, as what mentioned by Sir Gab, we recently, a few years ago, we put up the WeTeam. This is a free call to a friend. So when they call the number, free of charge, and they actually call to the clinical psychologist. So we actually saved one seafarer in 2021 because the seafarer almost committed suicide while in a hotel. And we found out that the seafarers is not ready to go on board because he just went home within 1 month. So his vacation is actually less than 1 month because he has the complete papers plus the quarantine period can easily become light. He was required to go on board. And because the clinical psychologist was able to intervene, then we saved the seafarer, and he undergone a treatment process, and now he's going back on board again. And you also have a scout base. The scout base is data-driven well-being and care. When you go on board, the ship managers and ship owners, they have the way to monitor at any given time the location of the vessel. They know the working hours of the machines that they have on board, but we don't know what is happening with our seafarers. So with this, it is programmed in the phone, even without the mobile signal. They continuously have the access. Wherein every 48 hours there are questions that are sent to the phone, and all the answers goes to the ship managers and ship owners, and that is the time that we'll be able to understand the human factors. You have the data from the vessels, from the maintenance, because you want to have the proper decision making as far as vessels operations. These ones, you need to understand the human factors so that you can have the proper decision making in terms of better workplace for our seafarers. Okay, so in totality, that's the bridge program that we do. We provide training. This is free of charge if the company is subscribed to the 2C, as mentioned, and the weekend is free of charge. And this one is a separate discussion with the owner of the scout base. For us, the totality is to provide and keep a sound emotional intelligence and mental health while on board. So, just to show the other CSR activities that we're doing, we have the health, education, environment, and livelihood, as well as disaster preparedness. For example, the food, we provide daily meals, not just one time of food giving of food. So we provide this to the schools that we support. As of now, we already provided 28,000 meals. And for the Eco Brick, it was actually Leslie who brought this from when he studied in Sweden. And we collected all the plastics and we put it into an Eco Brick. Now we have several schools and institutions that are actually part of our program. And also the Rice Philippines, this is the Rice program, which is actually, I think Captain Enrile just came from from Iloilo for this purpose as well. So this is one of the activities that we do for the Rice. This is the resiliency, improvement, support, and education. These are the training, the pictures of the training of the local government units, the LGU, unit that supports the disaster preparedness. So right now we have 4 LGU partners, one in Pampanga, 3 in Cavite. So the one who's in charge is also Captain Enrile, wherein he will be able to discuss more later. So for us, I'd like to end my presentation and quote our ambassador, our founder. We move the world together, not for ourselves, but for the country, for the environment, and for the planet. And never losing sight of our vision, and our commitment to sustainability in everything we do. With that, I'd like to thank you for listening.